my dad calls up one day, and he just out of the blue realized I had become as big of a camera junkie as he was. And he said, we need to start a company. And you need to start doing this professionally. Yeah. And we got to quit this like dancing around it BS. We need to go out and have some fun with this.
It's a great phone call to have.
Oh my gosh. And I was so in the weeds with it. The thought of becoming or trying to become professional wasn't really there. And of course you would love to do that, but I just didn't know that I had the courage to do it. And he made that call, and within a year, so this was probably 2007. Okay. And then in 2008, we launched our little company called Grand Life Photography. Yeah. And at that point, it was all referrals. Our very first client, I showed him photos of my kids on the back of my DSLR. Yeah. And they said, we want you to do our family photos, and that was our first client. Yeah. And then it just
snowballs from there.
It really did. I mean, it really, really did. And then the trick, and then, you spend 6 months getting a good client list out of all the referrals. Yeah. But then you spend, or I spend 10 years after that trying to figure out how to run the business and how to make it, how to turn it into a viable,
sustainable,
profitable business. And that's been the wildest ride. Yeah. Is just fighting the artist versus the salesperson. You know, those two dualities that you have to live with. So that's it. I mean, and Grand Life starts, the genesis of it really was, me growing up around photography and being taught it. But it was when my kids came out that all of that just at one time hit you.
Why Grand Life?
So this is a really interesting story. My mom got, and we don't really talk about this a lot, which is funny. I don't know that I've ever said this on a recording before. My mom was and this isn't a secret, but my mom was at a really, really high position at one of the hospitals in town. Okay. And I think at that point she actually been promoted to vice president. Mm-hmm. And we'd done a lot of work in the medical field and was, she was very successful. Yeah. Well, she got really sick. And I mean really sick. Spent 2 weeks in a hospital. Mm-hmm. I mean, fever well over 103, 104. I mean, she was sick. And it forced her into retirement and into an early retirement. Yeah. And she was maybe at one of the lowest points I'd ever seen her. And she's not a complainer at all. And in that time, it was kind of when Dad and I were talking. So she's going into retirement. Yeah. She's not exactly happy about this. My dad and I are all fired up and pumped up, and we're doing photos and we're doing all the, and I look back, we're so naive. I mean, we were just like, we might as well have had like a piñata party every day. We were so excited about this, right? Right. And we're looking at gear and we're having Canon, Nikon debates and all this, and and she's over here. Yeah. And her world's kind of crumbled. Yeah. Right?
She's used to working and having a great time, always on the move, always being busy.
And this is her.
Yeah, that's who she is. That's her whole identity is in working.
And here we are. Yeah. Doing that thing, and she's
kind of without thinking it, rubbing it in her face.
Yep. Yeah. And she calls me up one day at one of her lowest moments, and she says, "I have a name for your company." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Okay, well, what's that?" And she said, "It's Grand Life Originals." Yeah. It's a really weird name. I said, and of course, I was kind of pausing, like, okay, well, why Grand Life Originals? Right. And she said, you photo all the moments in life that are grand, and your work is truly original. Yeah. And I just said in that moment, well, that's the name of the company.
There you go.
Done.
Yeah.
And so we refer to it, we kind of have it now as, we refer to it as Grand Life Photography.
Yeah. But the LLC is Grand Life Originals.
The LLC is Grand Life Originals. And so the way, and I'm really working on, trying to kind of clearly separate this piece of it. Yeah. But Grand Life Photography really is photography for people and families. Yeah. So it's seniors. We do, a few weddings, 2 or 3 weddings a year.
New babies, all the rest of it. Yeah.
Schools. We do a lot of schools. Okay. Sports. Yeah. It's really photography for, literally, so not commercial photography, but photography for families. Yeah. Our original clients still call us originals, which I love.
That's awesome.
And then, but then I really see this vision that originals, like as a name, really is our artwork. So it's Grand Life Originals, right? And so we're having fun with it. I mean, it was a heck of a name. Our people really embraced it early on. I added the DBA photography probably 3 years into it just because it was starting to get confusing. And people would write Grand Life Photo on checks. I mean, you're going, well, that's not really her name. And,
right.
So that's kind of our that's what it is.